Welcome to the Comic Binge. I am your host, Paul Herman, and yeah, we got a crazy show today here because I always say that every week, but it's true. I'm just crazy. What can I say? So, anyway, today we're gonna be talking about horror comic books, which I can't wait to talk about. And man, like we've got Cookie coming back. She was on the show earlier this year for a Halloween episode. I can't wait to talk about comic books with her because she always has crazy recommendations and comics she's reading that I see on Twitter. So I always love to pick her brain. So we're going to talk about some great comics with her today. But if you haven't already, I'm going to be obnoxious because I love to be obnoxious. Everyone knows that. Go please subscribe to the Comic Binge. I'd really appreciate it. And hit the like button, all that jazz. I hate being that person, but you got to do it to survive on YouTube for some reason. Just stupid. I don't know. What do I know? But go ahead, subscribe, all that stuff. We've got the new Batman. Oh my God, I said No Man's Land. Batman, Nights Never Die with Chris and Javi. I'll show up. We have episode 0 up. We've got next week an interview with comic book historians, Alex Grand, with his new book about comic book superheroes. That's coming. End of the month, we have Legion of Superheroes introduction. It's crazy. But next month is going to be even nuttier because we've got 2 movie reviews, Blue Beetle and Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle stuff. It's crazy. Anyway, go check it out. Get stoked, all that jazz. I'm gonna say hi to Andrew real quick. Hi Andrew, how are you doing? I always really appreciate. I'm glad you're here. I always really appreciate you. So anyway, without further ado, I'm gonna bring on my friend Cookie here. Cookie, what's up, girl?
What is up?
What's up? Hey,
How's it going?
hey, I remember you told me you always said you're kind of shy, but it seems like you've broken out of your shell finally because you're doing like videos on Instagram now. That's awesome.
Thank you.
They're very funny. They're very. I always love seeing them. No, you always seem you're upping like the echelon for yourself a little bit. Am I wrong on this? Or you keep kind of bringing up more and more?
I'm trying. I'm trying to be cinematic and stupid at the same time.
It's not stupid. You're great. They're great. They're great. Do you like doing them? Do you feel good doing them?
No, I love doing them. They're a lot of fun, and it's like a whole new type of outlet for me. So
yeah, exactly.
Good.
It's cool. It's really cool because you are extremely talented with your makeup. Like it's crazy. Like you see people like you see people do their makeup and you're either my ex-girlfriends or my wife doesn't really wear makeup. She's not really a big makeup person, but like other people, and you're just kind of whatever, it's normal. But then when I saw your pictures on like Twitter for a while, and then you did to Instagram, and I was like, damn, like Cookie can like she's like an artist on that shit,
Yeah.
It's crazy. So it's super rad.
Paint in the
So
face. Yeah.
No, so keep it up. Like it's awesome. I think
you.
it's cool to see someone come into their own, online and find their voice of like what they want to do and because I think online, I think you'd agree this is like an art. There's an art to it. Like besides like the art that you're doing, like the makeup and things like that, but just being an online personality, there's an art to it, right? And that's not for everybody, but it's cool to see someone kind of come into their own, which it seems like you're doing, which is awesome. So
Thank you.
yeah, so we're gonna be really cool. I'll just get off the top, but where people can find you on Instagram for all that stuff.
On Instagram, that is Cookie Monster Makeup, and Twitter, where I post my nerdy stuff and some makeup stuff. That's Cookie Monster. Cookie Critter 44.
So yeah, that's my question. Why can't you marry the comics with the makeup on Instagram? Tell me.
Well, I mean, I started my Instagram with the makeup because I'm like, there is no way that the people that follow me for my nerdy
That's
stuff
fair.
have any interest in what I'm doing. So
I don't know makeup, but
separate.
you've invested me in makeup just for me. Like I'm interested, and I have no interest in makeup, and so I just know that I'm always enthralled to see what you're up to. So don't underestimate that networking. So
Yeah.
But no, it's really cool. I'm glad. I would love to see more comic stuff on your Instagram just because I'm that jerk. I'm just going to be hey, do what I want to do. Okay. All right, Cookie.
Right.
Don't do what you want to do. Do what I want to do. So anyway, so we're going to talk about some horror comics. That's kind of more your alley for the comic book medium. We talked last time, which I'm bummed because we had you on for the Halloween episode, which again, I'm going to beg you to come on again for that. Next, if not sooner, at least for that. I was bummed because I the book I chose, I Promise You Darkness, I really thought you would be like super into. I know you picked up a couple issues yourself.
Yeah.
I didn't like it as much. I was like, damn. I hate that one. And I think Jim, I remember Jim also was on the show. I don't think he liked it as much as I think I was the only person on the show that liked it the most. I'm like, you guys, what the
Yeah.
hell? So no, but you always have awesome recommendations. So I was like, okay, I want Cookie to pick a book out that's like not because you said yourself you're not a big superhero person. You don't really, it's kind of overwhelming for you. Totally fair.
Yeah.
So, but I wanted to kind of, because one thing about the binge, and you already know this, but for people who don't know this, not notice, that the binge exists because we want people to get more into comic books, whether it be, superhero crap, which I love, or whether it be independent stuff, artsy stuff like my wife loves, or horror stuff like you do. I think you probably like artsy stuff too, like the artsy books, like on Fantagraphics and all that stuff. I'm not sure if you ever read those kinds of
No.
stuff. Okay, you should. We'll talk. We'll talk afterwards.
Okay.
There's my wife always talks about these Fantagraphic. It's a publishing company, so they do all kinds of stuff, and they have all kinds of crazy, really out there, like just artsy stuff. So if you like artsy stuff, yeah,
I'll take all the recommendations.
all right.
Expand my mind.
Oh man, I will. But the cool thing about, and listen, I'm guilty of when things get too artsy and I make fun of my wife for it. I'll say like, this is way too artsy. I'm done. Like I can't deal. And I do think that when you do non-mainstream stuff, like sometimes people tend to go way to the pretentious side and not try to find that happy medium. The one thing I'll say, the books that you read, and you always are, showing on Twitter what you're reading, it always feels like it's in that middle ground, honestly. And I mean that. I'm always like, that's why I'm like, all right, you got my attention. Because I don't want to just be the guy who just reads only Marvel and DC. There's nothing wrong with it if you do, but I like the medium means so much more to me. So yeah, so when I see your books, I'm always like, man, like those look really interesting. So yeah, I think I asked you last time, but I'll ask you again. I'm going to shut up now. Tell me your thought process, because you kind of judge things by its cover. Is that right? Tell me, how do you pick comic books to read, like new ones?
Usually by the cover, unless I know, like the writer or the artist, where I'm like, oh yeah, like I know this is going to be good. But generally, it's usually just by the cover. I'll scroll through, like comics coming out this week, and I'm like, yep, I'll put that on my list, and that's generally how I pick them. So.
And I've said this on the show before, that it's a lost art for covers for mainstream stuff. And I think that you brought up a great point, is that, and I've told people on the show too, I'm like, I wish these major companies would figure out that the covers are way more important than they realize, right? Like it's weird because, for the superhero stuff, you'll get these weird poses and it's not really telling you anything about the story. It's just like a poster on the cover. It's gotten better, but you need to sell the story on the cover,
right?
And that's the thing that's so weird, is that the independent books, and again, I think why I'm always enthralled by the books you show on Twitter is because the covers look so fucking rad, right? I mean, so yeah, so when you buy a comic, do you flip through it before you buy it, or do you just go, all right, cover looks cool?
No, I just go in.
At a girl, that's straight baller status right there. That's like that's straight up just like, I'm just gonna go for it. I love it. I love it. I'm the same way. It's like when I was a kid, I'd peruse through the book a little bit, just a little bit, because I'm a costume guy. I still am, and so I'll flip through it and go, there's not enough costume. I'm good. Like I'll put it back. I need costumes, but you're not. You just go, I'm just gonna go for it.
No, like if I'm in the shop and I see something like really weird, I'm like, all right, let me see
Sure.
what this is.
Okay.
So
Has anything surprised you of how good or how bad it is based on the cover? Can you give any examples? Off the top of your head. Sorry, I'm putting you on the spot.
Well, I mean, the two I could think of off the top of my head are my recommendations for
Perfect.
later.
Okay. Well, segue time. Hello.
Segue.
Segue. Let's do this. All right, hold on. Let me get. Oh, I did that. What I wanted to do. 1 second. Actually, that's kind of cool. I like this. What's it? Keep talking. All right. So, tell me the first one you want to bring up.
Well, the first one I want to bring up is Barnstormers.
Okay, hold on a second. Bam.
Yeah. Which really surprised me. So as far as this goes, I've always loved Tula Lute, her covers for she does a lot of like the independent covers, but she did the whole interiors, the whole art for this whole
Really?
series. Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
So when I tell you, when I opened this up and I read it and I was just like, oh my God, like every page, I was like, this is so beautiful. Like
Damn.
I can't
Okay.
take it. It's gorgeous.
Okay.
And it's a fun read.
Is
So
this based
this,
off true story?
no, I don't think so. No.
Because I put
But
okay. Go ahead.
I
All right,
mean,
continue.
well, they, so I mean, it's based off of World War One Barnstormers. You know, like the
I don't know.
acrobatic
I know nothing about
fancy.
history.
Okay,
Very
so
so please teach me. I'm being
yeah.
serious too. I have no idea. Please.
Oh well,
So
I learned while reading,
see,
but
perfect. This is comics. The comics are informational. People, get out there. All right, continue. I'm sorry.
educational.
Yeah,
But
educational.
it's so I mean it's based on yeah, the Barnstormers, which is like the acrobatic type of fancy flying, and I'm gonna do crazy shit on the wing of a plane type of people.
Okay. Okay.
But but as far as the characters and the story, I believe it's all fictional. So
Okay. Right on, right on, right on.
hmm
Okay. Yeah, because this I gotta tell you, when you gave me we'll go to the next one here in a second because we that one I'll have a lot of questions on, to be quite honest.
uh-huh.
But this one was a surprise because again, I kind of know your aesthetic a little bit now that we've kind of know each other a little bit. And I'm like, Barnstormers does not seem like a cookie comic book for me. So so tell me, the artist, did you know her from something else? But you said she's a cover artist, you said, but
Yeah.
did what did you know her from originally before? Like what grabbed you with this artist specifically before?
Just I mean, she does a lot of covers. I follow her on Instagram,
Okay,
and
okay, that's what
her
okay.
stuff is just so beautiful. It's just soft,
It
and
is,
you
yeah.
don't really see that a lot in comics. So,
No, you're right. There's definitely there's smoothness to what she's doing here, and it's great. The art definitely captured me right away. I was like, okay,
hmm
it's definitely there's some artists out there that are all style,
hmm
and she
yeah,
definitely has her own style. Don't get me wrong, but it's definitely more of a traditional look. But there is a smoothness to what her face is, and it's realism, but it's not quite realism. Does that make
right,
sense? Like it's
yeah,
that cartoonist mentality is
it's
still a hint there. It's perfect,
yes, and it
just
feels
look.
almost like watercolor. Like it's
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah, yeah, yeah, yeah,
yeah.
yeah. That's great. Does she
hmm
does she do all the do does she do all the interiors, like the paint, like the colors and the inks, or does she only do the
No,
art?
I think she just did the art. The colors, I think, were D. Cunniffe, if I'm pronouncing
Okay,
that
that's pretty
correctly.
good. I'm
So,
terrible with color. I'm ashamed to say that, but it's true. Right on. See, and is it did she write it or did someone else write it still?
Scott Snyder wrote it.
Oh, Scott, that's right. He's
Yeah.
on. Okay, okay.
So, yeah, and
He
this
said misses
the
me.
whole thing came out last year on Comixology. So I've
Okay,
read the whole thing. But the
Dark Horse put
first,
it out physically.
yeah. So the first issue, I think it just came out. I'm holding out for the trade.
Word, yeah. See, that's the
Yeah.
trade. We'll talk about that too because that goes back to the book specs we're going to talk about here in a few minutes too.
hmm
But no, this is Scott Snyder. How familiar are you with Scott Snyder?
Vaguely familiar. I usually read like his horror stuff, honestly. But
What else, what horror stuff? Wait, American Vampire, right? That was one.
hmm
Do
and
you is that pretty good? Do you read that?
I read the first couple issues. I mean, it's good. It just didn't really hold me. I don't know.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay. He's. I'm just gonna say it. I don't like saying people are overrated completely. I think he's a good writer. I've read stuff I liked, but like I
hmm
just people went nuts for his. He did like when DC did like their big reboot. He
hmm
did like the initial Batman run, the Court of Owls, which I'm not sure if you've heard of ever, but um, it's like it's regarded as like a Batman classic, and I think it is. I don't love it as much as other people do. I need to reread it again, but it's I don't know. He's hit and miss with me. Like I'll read things and I'll be like, this is really good. Then I'll read things and I'll be like, it's like I don't know. So it's
Yeah.
yeah, but you
Yeah.
think after issue one, you think it's pretty good, Barnstormers?
Oh yeah. Absolutely.
Okay, okay,
So
okay.
yeah.
All right. Next one is one I see you talk about nonstop.
I
It's just
know. I'm sickening. I know.
that's a good segue for it as well. You're good at this. You're really good at this, Cookie. Lovesick. Now, I gotta tell you, this
Mm.
is something that does not seem up my alley. It's I mean, I don't want to be a prude, but
Hmm.
I'm just like, wow, okay. This is so tell me the premise of Lovesick, because if I show the viewers the covers here, it's just it's a little interesting. Yeah, what's the
Yeah.
premise here?
So the premise is she is a dominatrix on the dark web, and she
I figured that
does
much.
a bunch of different types of shows as far as red rooms,
Okay,
snuffies.
gotcha.
It can get pretty graphic.
Yeah,
Um,
I can guess.
but I promise that there is more than just blood, gore, and sex with this book. It is
It's a
very,
deeper story.
yeah.
Okay,
So I mean, if you can look past the whole graphic nature of it and dig deeper, there's a lot there.
question, and I mean no disrespect, not to the story itself when I say this,
Hmm.
but is the sex and the gore like a metaphor for like it's almost supposed to be over the top to serve the story that without spoiling it? Because I'm just curious
Yeah.
because
Well,
go ahead.
I mean, are you asking if it's like gratuitous, like unnecessary?
Yeah, I would say not necessarily, but because sometimes when stories they have to be over the top to prove a point of what the story,
Hmm.
you know what I'm saying? Like it's is
Yeah.
it like that where it's gratuitous on purpose to where it's trying to serve the story somehow in some way of like being ironic, or you get, am I making sense? Is it
Yeah.
like
Well,
that?
I think it's intentionally supposed to be shocking the reader to kind of take you um off guard
Okay.
and really make yourself like look inward on how you
Oh, okay.
think of certain things.
Cool. All right.
At least for me, it's
But
art.
see,
Art is subjective.
exactly. No,
Yeah.
but you're touching on something that I was trying to get to, and I'm glad you picked up on what I was trying to say, because I don't always explain
Hmm.
things very well, obviously, very obvious. But the thing is with this kind of thing, I don't mind when those things are there, but I want them to have a meaning, and I want them to be not just gratuitous, or if they're ironic, I want them to have a reason to be there, to be
Right.
ironic, or
Right.
whatever, like you're proving a point. I bring this up because there was an image book called Sex a while ago, and I bought all the issues. I don't even know why I did. It wasn't like I was like, oh my god, this is like, this is like I wasn't
Hmm.
horny or anything like that. But it was just like I was just bought the book because I thought it was interesting. It looked interesting, and I had read the first couple issues, and I just was like, this is just not really making this. It just felt like it was very much like trying to be risque, to be like,
Right.
oh
Just a shock. Yeah.
yeah, kind of, yeah. It was just
Yeah.
like I was like, there's no story serving purpose
Hmm.
where I'm like, I want to know about these characters and this world. But like you've
Yeah.
already kind of shown me, like it sounds like there's a deeper something with here
Yeah.
with all of this. And the fact that you read this and you internally started thinking about things, what it offered in the book internally, and makes you think about it yourself. That's really cool, because that's, to me, that's probably what they're trying to do in some
Hmm.
ways. And is it like a mini series, or is it an ongoing series?
It's a mini. So it's 7 issues,
Okay. Well,
and
7 issues. Okay.
yeah, and the trade's coming out on the 19th this month.
Oh, hell
So
yeah. Okay. You may have, first I'm like, I'm not sure if I'm ever gonna read this book, but now the fact you said that thing, I might give it
yeah.
a shot. I might give it a shot. I might at least give it to my wife. She might be into it.
Yeah.
I'll be like,
Yeah.
that's not really my thing. But again, I like stories, and they can shock me. They can do heavy things as long as there's a theme and a story.
Hmm.
And it doesn't have to be morality, because
Right.
I don't need a morality, but themes, like what is the theme
Right.
of using violence and sex, and this whole really darkness stuff, what is it trying to say? That's what I want, without being too on the nose about it, like this is bad or this is good, you know what I'm saying? Like not like
Right.
that obvious. Give me something more human to relate to with using the gratuitous, all that stuff. So
Hmm.
it sounds like it's in that vein,
Yeah.
if what you're telling me,
Well,
which again,
I mean, it's definitely shocking, but
for sure,
it's not relying on that. Like there's a backstory, there's symbolism there, like
perfect,
there's
yeah.
so much in this book that is just, I don't want to say beautiful
You're selling me on,
because
honestly, you're selling me. I didn't think you would, but you're actually sold me on, you might have sold me to read
mhm,
this, because is here's the defining thing for me in a comic, and this should be for mostly all comics. Is
Mhm.
the art good? It seems like it's good with the stuff you've shown me on Twitter.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
No, it's gorgeous.
Okay. Okay.
So
You've sold me. You sold me. So I will give you some recommendations for you and for the audience, not just for you, Cookie, but for the audience too. Because if you haven't read these, shame on you all. And Cookie. No, I was kidding. But
I'm taking notes.
oh,
Okay, go.
I know. Okay. Okay. One is a superhero book, and I want you just to bear with me. Okay. I know they're
Mhm.
overwhelming. Just bear with me here.
Okay.
So don't get mad. Don't get mad. This and I think I don't know if I've told you this before, but this is not like what I'm about to recommend is not a shock to anybody. But because I've said it's some of my favorite Marvel comics maybe ever. Maybe, and that's a big statement. I'm a Marvel zombie.
Mhm.
I grew up reading Marvel comics, so I don't say this. I always bring up my wife a lot because you guys have shared like a lot of similar interests of that. Like
Mhm.
you like comic books, but you don't like superhero books as much.
Right.
So I know, like, I usually can tell if like my wife will like something or someone who in that vein doesn't like something or will like something. And one of
Mhm.
those things, and I've been telling everyone to read this, and this is no shock, is Immortal Hulk. And
Okay.
okay, now listen, you see Hulk, you're like, I don't need no Mark Ruffalo looking, whatever, right? No, no. This is I'm gonna sell you on by this alone. I've sold many people on this. Okay. This is are you familiar with Alan Moore's Swamp Thing at all?
Yes.
Okay, if you're familiar with it, you don't have to read it because I recommend that
Mhm.
too. That's very good. This is like Alan Moore's Swamp Thing, okay, meets
Okay.
David Lynch.
Stop.
Girl, I tell you, I'm not bullshitting you. I'm not bullshitting you.
I'm
This is
writing this down.
okay, okay. And I say that, and maybe you'll read it and go, "This is BS. You lied to me." Like you could tell, and maybe but and I'm not like the biggest Lynch fan, but I do
Mhm.
love Lynch. Okay, love Twin Peaks. I love Lost Highway. Like, I mean, I haven't watched all
Mhm.
his films. I still promised my wife I'd see Elephant Man. I haven't seen it, or Elephant Man, Eraserhead. Excuse me. That's a
Uh-huh.
whole thing. That's a whole different story. But I do love Lynch, and this is probably the best, like a great jumping on point to learn about the mythos of the Hulk without having to know anything. And it is
That's
like body
exciting.
horror to the max. And like
All right.
and it's not just because like he turns into a green monster. It's not like that. It's not like that. It's way more. And there are so many. You talked about Lovesick being there's a lot of emotionally like deep stuff in there.
Mhm.
And the Hulk does already have a lot of that. That's the backstory of the character that Al Ewing brings into this in a fresh way. That it's still honoring the continuity before, but also like again, a new reader like yourself could go in and go, oh, that's not good. Like,
Mhm.
um someone I can relate to this book a lot, like honestly, like from an emotional standpoint. Like and it's also fun because monsters, I know you love monsters.
I do
So
love monsters.
yeah, so it's amazing. Like it really is. It really does feel like Alan Moore Swamp Thing meets David Lynch. So if you know those two things, then you should pick this up immediately, or at least read it digitally, or whatever cheap way to do it because
Mhm.
comics are expensive. I get it.
Yeah.
But yeah, Immortal Hulk is some of the best Marvel comics ever written, bar none. Like it's not, and it's not even debatable. It's amazing. So yeah, go check it out. And if you ever do read
Okay.
it, like you could probably go find it on Hoopla. I'm pretty sure. Are you familiar with Hoopla at all?
I am not.
I'm
So
going to
I
educate
don't.
you.
Yes, please.
Okay, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No, 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 no. Well,
So
I don't think because it's like it's hooked up to your library, right?
exactly. So if you have it,
I
if
don't think my
you
library offers it. I don't know.
really okay, so Hoopla
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure everyone who offers Hoopla. It's an app. Go download it on your phone or your tablet. I'm not sure if you have a tablet or your computer, whatever you use. Go on, download Hoopla, free comic books. They have tons of crap, which I'll go back to Hoopla. It goes back to specs, I promise. But it's got to be on there. It has to be.
Yeah.
But go read digitally, read a couple issues, see what you think. I loved it. It's really long. It's like 50 issues long, but it's worth it. And you could learn about the Marvel universe a little bit on it. You might get lost a little bit here and there, but I don't think so. I think the stories are so
No.
good. Anyone who doesn't know anything about the Hulk, besides that he's a big green monster and Mark Ruffalo played him, it'll be fine. Like
Okay.
seriously. So go check that out. Now, the next thing is a recommendation that I've been owned for a while and I've been meaning to read it. I haven't read it, but it looks effing rad. And I'm just gonna tell you to read it. Oh god damn, I remember what it was. I have to go. I don't know if I'm able to find it, but it's this and something else. But this is you may have already read this. I don't know. Black Stars Above.
Mm-mm.
This is by
Okay.
Vault. Go and research Vault Comics. You'll like majority of their stuff, by the way. But this is like just old school, like back in the like whatever old past times and aliens. And the art looks incredible. Black Stars Above.
Aliens.
Yeah,
Yeah.
aliens,
Yeah.
exactly. Go check that out. I've looked through this a ton. The art's amazing. The last thing I'll offer before we get started, and I forgot to bring their comic. I remember what it was. It was These Savage Shores by Ram V. And it is I don't even want to tell you what it is because it's monster-ish, but it's rad. Okay.
Okay.
I don't want to tell you what monsters are in it because they're classic or kind of some classic monsters in it. But I don't want to tell you what they are because I had no idea what it was. I'm like, this looks interesting. I just bought it. I'm like, dude, this is rad. So just These Savage Shores. The art's incredible. Ram V, he's also writing Detective Comics right now, which I'm like the lone person of my Batman group that like loves it. Everyone like doesn't like it for whatever reason. I'm like, you guys are crazy. Ram V's amazing.
Yeah.
So anyway, I digress. Thank you for giving that those recommendations to you. If you read them, let me know. If not, I totally get it.
Okay.
We'll talk about our main book here, which is the book you recommended, which I'm glad you did because I told you before the show what I thought about it. I'll tell that in just 1 second, but that is going to be Specs. And this is something that it was interesting. I'm going to go ahead and say when I asked to come on the show, I'm like, I want to get a different style of comic book to review and talk about. And that's why I wanted you on the show. I said, give me what you want to read. Let's go over it. And you said Specs. You gave me a couple options. I think I picked Specs. Judging by the cover, I'm going to tell people right now, this is one of those things where Specs kind of doesn't really sell. The cover doesn't sell you what really it is. Because I came in expecting something else. And it was way better than I was expecting. I'll just say that. So tell me what spoke to you about Specs, how'd you discover it, and as you read it and all that good stuff.
Well, I had just read The Autumnal, which was illustrated by Chris Sheehan, and I saw that he was doing Specs, so I was just like, oh, well, I'm in on this, 100%.
Okay.
And then I saw that first cover where it was like a They Live homage cover, and I was
They
like,
Live.
yes. I'm like, I'm in on it. I'm in.
At word. I hear you.
So, but yeah, no, like it wasn't what I expected at all either. So
Yeah. And so when you pick this up monthly, right?
yeah.
Okay. And you read it the artist. So what was the book you knew the artist from? What was the book called?
The Autumnal.
Okay. The art was very, I love the art in this a lot. And I mean, and for me to love any comic book, you have to love the art most of all, in my opinion.
Yeah.
The writing can be good, but if art has terrible, it doesn't speak to you, you ain't going to be reading the book much, or if you're able to drop it, whether it be a graphic novel or a monthly series. The autumnal, I'm gonna have to check this out because I like this art. When this story, like you said, it surprised me. And I'm curious, when you read it, were you expecting the dynamics of the story? And we'll get into the dynamics in a second. I want to spoil everything, obviously. I try to keep things as spoiler free as I can. But
very vague,
Yeah, I try to be, but I mean, it's four issues. Well, I'll get into that in a bit too. But I was surprised because it's about a gay character that is dealing with his own sexuality. And I'll be honest, I haven't read a lot of stories like that. And I need to write more, or write and read. I need to read more stories like that. And when I'll be honest, as someone who has never read much of that, I'm not cautious about it, but I tend to worry about just being hit over the head with it, if that makes sense.
Right. Yeah.
And that's with anything. It could be any love story or anything like that. Like I hate being hit over the head with anything. And so I'm like, okay.
Or going into like really like tropey territory.
Exactly.
Kind of
exactly. And I want to tell you right now, if that makes you on the fence, not you obviously, Cookie, but you in the audience, if you're like, I'm on the fence about reading something like that, I'm going to tell you right now, it's way better than you're expecting. Because I was like, okay, I read the premise, that's interesting, but I get character, all this stuff, and I read it. I'm like, that was fantastic. It was a great story of coming into your own, accepting yourself through adversity, through fear, very relatable in a sense to where even though I am not gay, I could relate to hiding something, feeling ashamed of yourself. Those are all themes that we can relate to as people,
Right.
regardless if you're gay or not.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought the writer did a phenomenal job of weaving those emotions into the story and being able to identify and project myself onto the character. I'm curious.
Yeah.
I'm not sure how. Again, I don't mean to put words in your mouth or anything like that, but how did it speak to you the same way? Like how did the story speak to you and then the main character? Was it Ted, right? Ted's the main character.
Yes.
Okay.
Ted. Well, the two of them, Ted and Kenny.
Ted, yeah. Kenny's
Yeah.
the best friend, the
Yes.
guy who plays baseball.
Yes.
See,
I
I'm
always
bad
get
with
them
names.
confused.
I know. I always get confused. Thank you. I was like, is that Ted? I think Ted is the guy who
Is the baseball player.
oh, he's
right?
Ted's the baseball. Hold on. Let me get the phone out. All right. All right. I gotta go get on Hoopla.
We're gonna cheat a little bit.
Yeah, I cheat a little bit. I'm so bad. I'm so bad with freaking names. I know faces like nobody's business, but man,
Right.
face or names, I'm like the guy with long hair. That's
Mm-hmm.
let's see here. Hold on. This is how we do it in the comic binge. Don't prepare. Why would we?
No.
Not you, Cookie. It's me. I'm the one who should be more
Yeah. No.
prepared.
All my notes are not helping me currently. So.
Why didn't I write that guy's name? Why didn't I? Let's see here.
Why didn't I write which one played baseball?
Yeah, yeah. Why couldn't I write? Yeah. Let's see here. I think it is Kenny. Kenny is the guy who doesn't play. Ted's the one who plays baseball. So
Okay.
okay, we got him
Baseball boy.
backwards. Yeah.
Okay.
So I think miss I'm getting overwhelmed by being put on the spot. But anyway, yeah. So tell me, how did the story speak to you? Because I think that what surprised me about the story. It was how much I gravitated towards these two characters and the relatability, even though I don't relate to that 100% personally. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Well, I think at some point in our lives, most of us have felt like an outcast, or you know been that person where you're hiding something, or you feel ashamed of a way that you fit, a way that you feel, or
Mhm.
something that you're interested in. And so we can all project those kind of feelings onto uh onto Kenny, and you can see, and you can be like I am Kenny. So
Word.
yeah.
Well, and I think that and again, without going to, talk about the specs themselves, and it's like,
Mhm.
I don't, all right. So I won't spoil much about it because I almost feel it's better not to know much about going into it, to be honest.
Right. Hmm.
Because the specs don't work the way you think they do.
Right.
And that's the thing, so basically, if I remember correctly, the specs they grant your wish, but there's rules within of what they grant you.
Hmm.
And it's not quite the monkey paw. That's like, and that's the trope and the cliche, right? Like
Yes.
but it's similar, but it's
It's
not.
like that, but there's a twist,
And,
kind of.
and I love that.
It's cute. Yes. It was great.
It was, and that's when, and you put that with that interesting dynamic of Kenny being in love with his best friend, and just all that you kind of expect, like you think what's going to happen, but it maybe never does. Maybe it's amazing what they do, the writer and the artist, they do with this book, because
Hmm.
it does keep you in suspense of, is Kenny finally going to use the glasses the way you think he's going to use them
Right.
on different levels.
Hmm.
And I love that. And I think that there's that whole idea of being an outcast. Like, if you could just snap your fingers and get what you want right away,
Right.
would you do it? Like, even though it might be
Wish
wrong.
away your problems, or
Yeah.
that's it. Easy fix, right?
Yeah. And it's really crazy because they take that whole concept and they really put it on its ear, in a sense to where you have two people knowing what's right and what's wrong. And again, I won't
Hmm.
tell you how what the moral or the main thing of this is, but you've got these two friends who relate to each other in an aspect of they have a common enemy, and then they have to deal with that enemy and the repercussions of dealing with that enemy, and how do they deal with it, and then and then you have the whole mythos of the glasses themselves, right? Like,
Right.
which I gotta tell you, I I wanted to know like right away, like what give me more of that,
Yeah.
like that issue. I was like, oh hell yeah, dude, like give me that. So
When I read issue 3, I was like, yes, this is
what
it.
I was
I've
like,
been waiting.
I'm like, give me some more of this, which we'll talk
Yeah.
about. We'll go put a pin in issue 3 to issue the very last page of issue 4. We won't spoil it, but we can talk
Pin
in
in it.
big terms of it. So, um, but I was really surprised of how not very much action packed this book is, and how it kept me like I zoomed through this pretty quick. I read it on Sunday, like during the day. I think my daughter was kind of sleeping. It's a whole long story how that happened. I finally binged through the whole thing, and it's only 4 issues long.
Yeah, no,
And
it's a quick read.
okay, so I'm gonna throw this out there. I'm gonna propose something to you, okay? And you can
Mhm.
tell me if I'm crazy. This is why I love comics. It's not like dense, but it's not like just done, right? Like
Right.
I felt it was a great balance
Mhm.
because what I think, and I'm very curious because you don't read as many mainstream like superhero books as my friends do, so I'm
Yeah.
not sure if you may know this as much, but I want to pick your brain regardless, obviously. But the problem with modern mainstream comic books in general, I think, whether it be superhero or whatever, is that they are decompressed like crazy. Meaning they
Mhm.
stretch out like this thing should be like 1 issue, they'll stretch out to 3,
Yeah.
right? And it's like,
Uh-huh.
and I gotta tell you, a lot of these independent places or lesser huge places, kind of like Boom's independent, and it's like a, you know what I mean? It's independent, but it's not whatever. You know
Right.
what I'm trying to say. It's
Yeah.
not like some independent publisher the guy's making out of his bedroom. It's like this is like
Right.
an office building where he's got like, oh hey, it's like
Yeah.
no,
Nobody's printing and pressing in their
yeah,
garage, you know?
exactly. This is
Yeah.
not punk DIY. God damn it! This is freaking.
Yeah, yeah.
This is made off millions of dollars. No, no. That being said, it's still an independent as far as it's not owned. I don't think it's owned by a major corporation. It's its own like, entity, I believe.
Mhm.
Um, yada yada yada.
It's not the
So
big 2. Yeah.
yeah, exactly. But I say all that because it's very prominent, not as much in the big two, but more in the smaller market ones. 4 issues.
Mhm.
And there's a beauty to the comic medium because you can convey so much more information in a comic book with pages and whatnot than people realize. And I
Right.
go back to the old books, like even like the old Sunday strips, like with Will Eisner. I'm not sure if you're familiar with Will Eisner. He's like a legend in the comic book world,
Mhm.
but wrote the Spirit Sunday papers for a long time, wrote like the Contract with God. If you don't, if again, I don't want to be rude, but if you haven't heard of him, go check him out. He's amazing.
Mhm.
Um, he would put so much on in Sunday strips, like it just like panels everywhere. And I think it was him, one of the old timers back in the day, back in those times in the 40s and 50s.
Mhm.
They talked about they thought they needed to put as many panels on a page because people thought they'd be getting more out of the book for it. And it's true because you're
Mhm.
getting more information, more story out of it. Now, the quality of that story is debatable, right? But
Right.
it's to be said that it's more popular nowadays to like put like 3 panels, 4 panels. It's not a problem, but the problem is when every page is basically under 6 panels, and you don't have a lot of dialogue and you don't really go into the characters' heads as much. It's like I read
Mhm.
it in 5 minutes, and these things are $6 basically, right? So
Yeah.
it's like that being said, I think Specs does a great job of balancing that because I never felt like I zoomed past it, but
Mhm.
it's not like a huge read either. They utilize the medium well, in my opinion. I'm curious, did you get that same feeling when reading this? Does it seem like a brisk read or kind of that beauty? I call it baby bear, just right.
Yeah, no, I thought it was perfect. I mean, my only issue with I mean, any most the majority of the series that I read are minis or they're anywhere
Sure.
between like 4 to 7 issues, right?
Right.
So it's very hard to I don't want to say like stick the landing, but
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
you
yeah.
know, but the end can kind of feel rushed or whatever. So like I did kind of get that sense a little bit in this, but it's still satisfying, if that
Yeah.
makes sense. You
No,
know?
I think it makes sense. They with 4 issues, it's a lot, right? And
Mm-hmm.
but again, I think kind of what I was saying was instead of like drawing something out, like a really basic story, the writer put a lot in to the story.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I think that actually, to be honest, like, you definitely put a lot in, and you have to kind of roll with it, definitely, because it's only 4 issues. But I like that because it's
Yeah.
more compressed than is decompressed, right? So
Mm-hmm.
I felt I got like a good hearty story reading it. And I think that's my whole point is that when you read comics, the beauty of it is if you're like me and you have a ADHD and you can't read, like I can't read prose. Like I can read prose, but like again, one of my good buddies who we're gonna interview him next week. He wrote an amazing book, about understanding comic book superheroes, whatever. Um, it's an amazing book. I'm like, it's dense, just tons of amazing information. I love reading it. It's not just him, but like any book, I can't read it very long. I just am not
Yeah.
built that way.
Yeah.
Comics are perfect because I can get so much out of reading than I can with a regular novel, and I
Mm-hmm.
love I feel I can get a story, a complete great story in like 30 minutes.
Right.
That's
Yeah.
amazing.
Yeah. No, it's perfect for my attention span, I'll tell you.
Word. I mean,
Yeah.
it's not even for your attention span. I tell people if you're busy, like which is everyone, right? Like everyone, like
Right.
I have a toddler, and like I gotta tell you, if I didn't have a toddler, I'd be like making like way more videos, reading more comics, writing more comics, like, yada yada yada, right? But like I gotta tell you,
Mm-hmm.
man, like it is. I have to plan. It sucks. It's like okay, I'm gonna read Specs on Sunday night or
Mm-hmm.
Sunday when she goes a nap, and then I'm gonna do this. It's like I have to plan, and that's what was one of the
You
reasons why
have
the
to schedule your reading time. Yeah.
I do, which is fine.
Yeah.
Listen,
Yeah.
I'd rather hang out with my wife and my kid like than do anything else. Like it's just
Mm-hmm.
reality. But at the same time, it does suck because I'm like, I can't just sit down and be like, I'm gonna play this video game for an hour. Like, ain't those days
Right.
are gone, homie. Like
Yeah.
that's it ain't happening. So, which again, I'm grateful it's there, and I don't miss that world at all, to be honest. But
Mm-hmm.
it is hard to make room for stories. And so even with movies, like shows, people are like, I'm gonna binge a show. I'm like, how you can binge a show anymore, man? Like it's like I can't do it. Comics are perfect because you can just read a comic and get a whole story in like a short amount of time. You
Right.
know, it's at
Mm-hmm.
your own pace. It's
Mm-hmm.
not like a book where you're like, here's a huge book of 500 pages. It's like it's just daunting. It's like a comic, you read it, it's like you can get done with it pretty quick, and a good comic will make you feel like hell yeah, that was a good story. Like that's
Mm-hmm.
doesn't have to be blow you away, but if it fulfills that, sorry, fulfills that need of getting a good hearty story, like that's the comic medium is perfect for people that don't have a lot of time, you know.
Right. Yeah. Agreed.
And Specs, I feel, is a great example of that.
Mm-hmm.
Perfect example of that.
Yeah.
So
No, it's definitely it's very well paced. It's good.
yeah, well, I would say definitely the pacing's really. I think that's probably the strength of the book, actually. And I don't know if you
Mm-hmm.
want to comment any more about the pacing, but the pacing is. I was really surprised how well it was because it cuts to the chase pretty quick in that
Yeah.
first issue. Which I'll be honest. Did you want more out of that of how like what happens with this main character here, or not this character here on the lunch on milk cart? Did you expect that person to yeah, don't say too much.
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
you get what I'm saying.
Wink, wink. Yes.
Wink, wink. Okay? Did you think that was gonna happen? Like,
No.
Okay,
Yeah. No, that I was not expecting, and I was expecting more
of the
from
of this
of
cover
like
of
yes,
yes. Okay, that's what I was trying
yes,
to say.
yes.
Okay, I'll
I was
just
like,
leave it at that. Okay,
oh,
I
yeah.
okay, 'cause that's what I thought they were hinting at, which I'm like, okay, that makes sense. I'm like, oh,
Hmm.
okay, that didn't happen. All right. Do you feel this was like more like almost like a lost Twilight Zone like pilot, or not pilot, but like a story?
Yes, definitely. I got well. I mean, art wise, I definitely got like creep show vibes
Word. I've
a
never
little
seen
bit.
Creepshow, by the way.
No, oh, it's
Yeah.
good.
Is
It's
it
good.
good? I can check it
Yeah,
out?
it's
Okay,
good.
okay, I'm gonna
Yeah.
check it out. I'm gonna check it out.
Especially if you like all like the practical effects and stuff like that. It's good.
Yeah, yeah.
Hmm.
Ron, really quickly, I do know that Ron Friends, I think, wrote or did like like some art, or there's somehow comic related stuff in the Creep Show, I heard, like somehow. And he did like the art. He's a Spider-Man artist. I love the guy. He's
Hmm.
great. So I'm not sure if that's accurate or
Oh,
he's
what, like the cartoons in between?
yeah, I think he did
Yeah.
like some design stuff for that, which he's a great artist, underrated in the comic world, in my opinion.
Hmm.
But yeah, I've heard I want to watch it just based on that alone. So now I'm even more intrigued.
Yeah.
There's cartoons and Creep Show. Okay,
Hmm.
I'm sold. So, um, but yeah, like there's a lot of it felt very much in that vein. I never watched Black Mirror, but is it kind of like a Black Mirror? Like kind of, I know it's kind of Twilight Zone-ish a little bit. Is it kind of like that?
Yeah, no, I mean, I was definitely getting like Twilight Zone, Night Gallery kind of vibes.
Okay.
Not so much Black Mirror. I mean, yeah, I guess this could be a Black Mirror episode.
I know I
Yeah.
never even watched Black Mirror, so I have no idea what the hell I'm talking about. But I always, but the way
You have to.
I know, I
It's
just,
so good.
girl, I don't have time. I think my wife watched it. I'm like, girl, I can't watch this stuff. I don't have time. I
Make
can barely
time.
keep up with. I know,
Yeah, I
really keep up
know.
with my life, much
Yeah.
less the comic books, much less TV shows. Good
Hmm.
God. But yeah, I think. But would you think the people who enjoy Black Mirror, and again, I think that's why I always kind of put this with like a Black Mirror crowd. Is that the same kind of thing you think?
Um,
The same vein. If you like Black Mirror, you might like Specs.
yeah. I mean, if you like short horror stories that get to the point, which Black Mirror does very well, then yeah, I would say check this out.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
I would, I
Tales from
there
the Crypt, I get a little
yeah,
bit,
yeah,
maybe.
Definitely
Yeah.
Tales of the Crypt. If you like that kind of thing, I want to talk about like this. Like there's this great moments, and I really loved how I love it when artists do their layouts. Like they'll do like this, right? They'll just do
Mhm.
really basic like gutters. I love gutters. Give me gutters all day.
Mhm. Yeah.
Just classic. This is great, man. Look at this
Mhm.
wide shot, man. God, it's great. That's just
I
great.
love it.
Yeah, this is great stuff. And again, great medium shot here, like wide medium shot, great stuff. Gutters, I love it, love it, love it. All gutters, give it to me. But I love it when they break it up like this. When they
Mhm.
give you the basics, they set you up, is what I call it, right? They make you think like you're just watching a great normal grid, which I love. And then you throw in this to get a little bit snazzy, just to get
Mhm.
throw you off. I love this. I
Yeah.
love this, and I love. And this is where people, I think, who don't read comics or don't take it seriously enough, in my opinion, is that they don't realize
Mhm.
there's an art to the layout of the page
Mhm.
layout, and every page is telling its own story, right?
Right.
And I think that's such a lost thing in comics when people read it. And I'm not saying like how dare you if you don't get that, not like that, but
Mhm.
I want people to appreciate that like more
Yeah.
because it's way more special than people realize. Like I cut off the first part of this page, but this is like a whole like page back. This is like the whole backdrop, and then there's like a panel that goes above it that leads into this sequentially.
Mhm.
But I love this, and I love it when an artist can like just does basic stuff like in a good way, like gives me a
Mhm.
basic of layouts, grids, and all that good stuff, and they throw in this, and this is beautiful,
Right.
and I just love the comic medium so much when it gives us these simple, it gives you everything what you need here. It's all in the comic book format, but it's again like picture. I love it. I think this is a great picture or great
Mhm. Yeah, no, I mean, it's a really amazing and special skill when the artist can add so much to a story with, the action, the layouts, everything like that. It's so important,
Yeah.
and
Well,
it's executed beautifully in this.
yeah, and it's
Mhm.
it's very much the cinematic. Like people talk about movies and whatnot, and obviously comic books are very much like storyboards, right? Like for movies, and
Right.
but there's an art to where like it's like in movies when they do close-ups on things, or there's like they want to emphasize something, an emotion, they'll do something, right? Like this, you have the wide shot of him emphasizing like making it a big decision. What is he going to do? Like I think this is right before he makes a decision what he's going to do with the glasses and with that situation with his best friend. Like
Mhm.
you don't know. He's lonely, and again, it's obvious. But again, it goes even deeper in that. And sometimes artists throw things in here that you just gloss over that you don't realize. But there's reasons they do close-ups of certain things, and like again, I love this grabbing the baseball bat, like close up. Like this is a great like on the ground baseball bat. I love that. Like it's not.
Mhm.
I think and this is just me. Maybe I'm crazy, but it feels like some artists would be like, oh, I'm gonna have a panel of the guy, a more of a wider shot, medium shot of the guy taking it. You see the whole person taking the thing out of the bag, but it's more
Yeah.
powerful, in my opinion, to have it. It's grabbing the bat with the hand. It's
Yeah.
like you know what I mean. It's like a
The close-up shots where
yeah,
it puts you on edge almost. Like when they
exactly,
zoom in on eyes and stuff, to catch the
exactly.
emotion. Yeah.
Exactly. And again, right back to this picture, zooming in on the close up of the glasses, the close up to the bat. Like there's a reason to do that back to back, right? And the people
Mhm.
again, I'm not saying you have to, and I'm not trying to act like, oh yes, I know exactly what I'm not trying to act like I'm like super snobby over here, but
Yeah.
I just want people to respect and understand like there's a beauty of why sometimes, not all the time, but a lot of times
Mhm.
more than you realize, there's reasons why things are close up to give it that aggression that people just don't really take for granted or don't realize,
Mhm.
and that is to me a true like artist, a comic book artist because to me sometimes the best layout artists aren't the greatest artists. It's
Mhm.
usually or sometimes the greatest artists who are like a Jim Lee's a great example. I think he's an amazing artist. Dude's like all timer. His layouts are fine. They're not amazing. They're good. They're just not like he's not like a strong like storyteller. I would say like he's fine. He does well,
Mhm.
but like he's not like a guy like who just could like Frank Miller to me hate his guts whatever, but the guy could tell a story on the page like just like none other. Like
Right.
just it's so
Mhm.
interesting and unique and
Yeah.
that to me is even Todd McFarlane back in the day like he's interesting. He can't. I don't think he's the best writer over in the world of dialogue and things like that, but he could tell a story sequentially so beautifully.
Yeah.
And
Well,
I love him.
and I appreciate as a reader where it's like I feel like things don't have to be dumbed down for me.
Yes.
So when an artist could be like, "I'm putting this out for you," and I could be like, "Ha, ha, ha, I know what's
Yeah. Yeah.
coming."
Exactly.
That
Yeah.
that's part of the fun for me.
Yeah.
So,
Exactly. And I think that's what. And again, we all interpret like you brought up before, like how you interpreted Lovesick differently, the themes and whatnot. Like I'm sure
mhm,
I don't say suggestive, like in a, you know what I mean. There's
yeah,
suggestive panels in there they're supposed to evoke emotion that aren't obvious, but they're
right.
meant to, right? And that's the
Mhm,
whole thing that you're talking about is it's like, oh, okay, I see what you're trying to do here. And that's what I love that this book has done. I think there's a lot more subtlety is what maybe I'm trying to the right word I'm looking for.
yes.
There's a lot more subtlety in this book that I think people like will give it credit for. And I think
Mhm,
it's awesome that you pick up on that and that because it's there. And
mhm,
it's a great book. If people like I'll be honest, I wasn't expecting to hate it, but
yeah,
I went in and read it and like, wow, that was actually pretty damn good. Like that was
yeah,
I really need to read about this. I would love to see a sequel because
mhm.
well, as we wrap up here, Cookie, I gotta tell you, this stuff, I was here for this
Yes.
when he put on those glasses. And it was like, and I was like, okay. I was like, all right, let's do this. And then
Mhm.
when they got to this, I was like, all right, let's keep going. And then
I
they
was like, "I don't like this, but I love it. Oh my
yeah,
god."
exactly.
Yeah.
But then I'm just gonna say I purposely didn't grab the panels because I didn't want to spoil it because people need to read it. But do you recognize one of the people in the third issue at the end of the fourth issue?
No. Oh, I'm
Okay.
gonna have to reread it.
Okay. Are you familiar with the Dark Knight Returns at all?
Yeah.
The comic
Yes.
book?
Yes.
Okay. Have you ever read it?
No.
Okay. No, but yeah, it's no big deal. What it feels like both an homage and also like they're telling something within the story itself too. I'll just say one of the
Mm,
people in the third issue, I'll just leave it there vague for people to get interested, looks exactly like a character from The Dark Knight Returns that shows up again in the fourth issue.
uh-huh,
That I was like, oh, that person showed up again. And I was like, "Oh," so I'm not sure if it's what they're trying. When we disconnect before we leave,
Yeah.
I'll throw it out to you real quick.
Well,
But
I mean, there were a ton of, nods and winks in this
for sure,
comic,
yeah,
which
which
was
I'm good. Get the
so
movie,
fun.
yeah, the movie posters. No,
Mhm. Yes.
those are fun, and because they looked kind of cool the way they had them like kind of not in frame. You know what I mean? Like they were kind of like
Yes.
blurry, but not
Yes.
blurry.
But it's like,
Like
but I know what that is.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, exactly. It's
Yeah.
like you could kind of make out what it is. Like I'm like,
Mhm.
how much time do they have to do that? Like, because that looks
Yeah.
kind of painful. Like to like, you know what I mean? Like
I know. Well, that's what I
Like,
was thinking the whole time. I'm like, wow, there's so much detail.
yeah, in the stupid poster that's behind
Yes.
it. Like, I'm like, I mean, which
Mhm.
again, did they just like take it, like make it smaller and like blur? Which again, I would not have hated that. I would totally
Yeah,
understood.
no, it's like you do you. You got to
Yeah,
do
yeah,
that.
exactly, right? Like that's legit. But I was like, man, like, was it a was Fright Night on there? I think Fright Night Labyrinth was on there. I remember
Labyrinth was
Labyrinth.
on there. I think
Yeah,
Fright Night was on there. And I saw, oh, there was another one.
it wasn't House. I don't think it was House,
No.
but it was
Was
some
it Evil Dead? I think it was
Evil
Evil
Dead.
Dead.
That's what it was. Evil
Yes.
Dead. It was Evil Dead. Yeah, that's what it was. I
Yeah.
always get Fright Night and House mixed up, by the way. Always
Mm.
do. Always do because the houses. So
Yeah.
anyway, this is awesome. I really enjoy hanging out. Hopefully we can beg you back on and stay up late again. I know you're on the a late night East Coaster, but I figure you're a night owl, so I figure you can deal with it. So um,
Mostly. Yeah.
you're like, well, I'm like, oh, I feel really bad. I guessed you wrong. No, seriously, thank you. Like, I'm glad you showed me the story, made me read it because it's awesome, and I'm gonna have you back on for definitely for Halloween if you'll come back and maybe even
Oh, yeah.
sooner. So yeah, I love getting recommendations from you. So tell people again where they can find you on your social media platforms and follow you here, Cookie.
You can follow me on Twitter. That is Cookie Critter 44. You can also follow me on Instagram at Cookie Monster Makeup. And shameless plug.
No shameless, no shame, no shame. Pimp your stuff, girl. Do it.
Yeah, so I did an interview with Luana Vecchio from Lovesick. So that is going to be posted on houseofnerdshow.com shortly. So keep your
Whoa,
eyes peeled for that.
that's awesome.
I'm excited.
That's
So,
rad.
yeah.
Is it like a audio interview?
No, no. So it was like I sent her questions and
Cool.
yeah, so
Right on. That's so rad. Had a girl.
yeah.
Nice. Oh yeah, I'll definitely be checking that out because you've sold me on Lovesick. So maybe I'll read the interview. Is it spoilery? Interview spoilery?
Yes. So maybe you should
Okay.
read it first.
God damn it. Couldn't do this to me. God damn it. All right. Well, anyway, thank you so much. You guys can go read specs on Comixology, obviously. If you're like me, this actually comes out next month in trade, actually. So if you guys want to check it out in trade, it comes out, I think, August 19th, but it's on Amazon. Go pre-order,
Soon,
go read
yeah.
it. It's super good. If you're cheap like me, I read it on Hoopla, which you can get. The only thing is, you have to keep in mind, Hoopla is have everything because this has issues 1, 2, and 4.
Oh, stop.
Yeah, so I had to get issue 3 other ways, which is fine, not a big deal.
Yeah.
But again, go on there. Most of it's on there. The most you'll pay is like $4 for the whole thing, essentially digitally, if that's the case. But if you want to wait till the trade, I'm sure they'll honestly, most of the Boom stuff I've read on Hoopla has the trades are on there, and it has everything. So it's like you wait for the trade, I'll be on there too. So if you wait for Hoopla on the trade, it's there. But guys, get on Hoopla. It's free. It's through the library. Free comics digitally. It's amazing. It really is the best kept secret in comic books. I don't know why people don't advertise this more. It's crazy, but go check it out. It's incredible. Again, go if you made it this far. If you have, God, congratulations. You listened to me talk for too long. God damn. But go subscribe to the Comic Binge today. I really appreciate everyone who already has. You know, YouTube's weird, but go like the video, so comment, go follow Cookie on her awesome stuff. She's awesome. Go support her. She needs to read more comics. Only because to read more comics because she needs to. Because I want her to come on the show more and just get more just diverse in what she's reading, just like she helps me get diverse in reading. So, Cookie, get out there, read Immortal Hulk for me, read these Savage Shores, Black Stars Under
I promise.
Love.
You sold me at Ron V, so there you go.
Excellent. All right. Well, anyway, Chris isn't here, but I'll say it anyway for him.